To all the people that have come from the collaboration I did on Undoomed's channel, hello. Moving on, I want to talk about a rather interesting international incident that happened, well, a while ago actually. I've left it a while because I wanted to be sure of what would happen, but also I wanted to be certain of how I felt about the situation. For this we need Harry Dunn and a woman called Anna Sacoolas, and if I've mispronounced your last name I do apologise. Harry Dunn was riding his motorcycle home near the village of Croughton in Northamptonshire, England, when he was involved in a head-on collision with a car. Because of that, he suffered fatal injury. It has been labelled by many outlets as a tragic accident. Well, this tragic accident, air quotes, please, has turned into quite the diplomatic hoo-ha. The driver involved, identified by the police, is the wife of a US diplomat who appeared to have been driving on the wrong side of the road near the Royal Air Force, which is operated by the US Air Force. Initially, Anna Sacoolas had cooperated with the police, but left the country after the US Embassy in London asserted her diplomatic immunity. Boris Johnson asked Donald Trump to waive the immunity so that she could return to Britain to cooperate with the investigation into Dunn's death. Trump told reporters that even though there had been a terrible accident, Sacoolas had retained her diplomatic immunity. I hold a very strong view on this, and I'm sure many will disagree with it, and we'll certainly get into the history of diplomatic immunity because it goes back an incredibly long way, some believing it goes back as far as Sanskrit accounts in ancient India. But for the time being I want to give an opinion. I don't support diplomatic immunity. There are a number of reasons, not least because they are held to a separate standard from the rest of those in the United Kingdom, or any other country for that matter, except for three. There are members in the UN that have not signed up to the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations in 1961, which is the international treaty signed by 192 countries. The three that have not signed are Palau, Solomon Islands and South Sudan. I'm sure they have their own reasons. I don't agree that someone should be held to a separate standard though. I believe if you commit a crime in that country, you should be prosecuted by the law of that land. Other reasons I don't support it would include something as basic as parking tickets. The fact that the United Kingdom currently houses 23,000 people who are eligible for diplomatic immunity. That is a lot of people. And just to put a number on the parking ticket claim, it is estimated by the British Transportation Group that more than $144 million is owed in unpaid congestion charges. This is insane. If you go to a country and you work in that country, you pay your taxes, you pay your fair share, you pay your way. I don't want to use fair share. I take that one back, because what's fair is very tricky. How about the fact that in 2017 there were 12 serious offences committed by people eligible for diplomatic protection, one of which was RAPE. Trying to make this one that will get monetized. I'm going to try and remove that word. Now, it should be noted, diplomatic immunity can only be waived by the diplomat's country. The diplomat cannot choose to waive it on their own accord. The decision to waive it or not waive often depends on the specifics of the case. And the US have, on a number of occasions, applied diplomatic immunity where US citizens have killed people overseas. Most notable cases involved Raymond A. Davis, who was charged with gunning down 2 people in Lahore, and the second involving Colonel Joseph Emmanuel Hall, who is alleged to have run a red light and fatally hit a 22-year-old man. It should be noted the first case was highly regarded as one that tested the limitations of diplomatic immunity. Dominic Raab, the Foreign Secretary, had been urging the US to reconsider its position on granting the diplomatic immunity after he met with the US ambassador last Tuesday to request Anne Sacoolas be returned to the UK to comply with the investigation, with a Foreign Office spokesman telling Sky News that the Foreign Secretary met with the US ambassador and urged the US to reconsider its position and do the right thing by Harry Dunn's family. Oddly, I am on the side with Jeremy Corbyn here. He gave a speech last week and talked about this, and he believes she should be returned. Diplomatic immunity should never be used like this. But I also don't agree with diplomatic immunity. I think it's absolutely stupid. but I could be wrong, and if you disagree with me, by all means tell me I'm wrong. I'm quite happy for people to do that. There was a claim by the Foreign Office that the husband, Jonathan, was not actually a registered diplomat, and that she was therefore not eligible for the protections afforded to her. International lawyer Mark Stevens said that Mr. Sacoolas was not on the published list of accredited diplomats, but the Foreign Office insisted he was an accredited diplomat in the eyes of the British government, and that his wife was entitled to diplomatic immunity, which means, essentially, he just got a, he's cool, we can come hang with us. No. No, no, no. If he is not on the list, he doesn't get in. Like a party. The argument where this stems from is that the protections granted by the Vienna Convention were extended to the RAF base in question in the 90s, and is regarded by the UK as an annex to the US Embassy in London. Last I checked, an annex was next door, not in another county entirely. That's not an annex, that's at best a safe house. Charitably, you could call it that place where you dump your crap. So back to diplomatic immunity. The Vienna Convention says that a diplomatic agent shall enjoy immunity from the criminal jurisdiction of the receiving state, and they shall not be liable to any form of arrest or detention, with it adding that this does not mean that the diplomat is exempt from his or her own nation's laws, and that their own government can choose to waive their immunity in certain circumstances. The diplomats' families are also given immunity as long as they are not nationals of the host country as well as members of staff. If they do not, the host country has limited recourse other than making the diplomat persona non grata to expel them. In cases of last resort, it can detain a diplomat if they are deemed a danger to themselves or others. It should be noted it is actually considered quite irregular for people in the more serious cases like this one concerning Harry Dunn for diplomatic immunity to be invoked. When Trump ruled out Sacoolas returning to the United Kingdom, he was noted and a photo was taken of the notes he had actually had on him when he made his speech, where it said this. Not great, gonna admit that now. The reason I wanted to wait, by the way, to make this video was because I wanted to see if she had to come back or not. I wanted to be sure of this. She no longer has diplomatic immunity, and this was announced yesterday, and she can, because Dominic Raab has now told us so, face prosecution. They've agreed that because Anne Sacoolas returned to America, immunity is no longer pertinent. Now she has, Anne Sacoolas, spoken out about this incident with law firm Arnold and Porter, issuing a statement saying that she was devastated and wanted to meet the family of Harry Dunn. The Dunns are going to be flying out to the States soon, the intention being to meet with Anne to discuss this and put pressure on the case to have her return to the United Kingdom, which I think she should. But if she's not extradited when we're busy extraditing all the people in our country that have committed crimes in America but done it on British soil, then they can damn well bring her over here. And by the way, for people thinking I was joking then, no, we had guys in this country hack into your systems, be extradited to your country, and we complied. Consider it quid pro quo. You commit a crime in one country, and I don't care about your poxy diplomatic immunity. You will face justice in the country you committed the crime in. And I have to be consistent on this, because if I'm not, I'm a hypocrite for saying that Shamima Begum should stay in Syria and face the charges that she is having laid at her feet. I have to be consistent in this, and diplomatic immunity to me is a cop-out. A get-out-of-jail-free card for what is now a very serious crime that applies to anyone that commits a very serious crime. You should face justice for that. No amount of guilt you feel changes the fact that you were given a get-out-of-jail-free card by a monopoly man and used it to perfection. Your guilt does not change the complete lack of justice, and I like justice.